Hey, this is Editing Mario here. This video is technically a continuation of my Lord of the Rings video where I reference a Vox article talking about Lord of the Rings and Elon Musk. So if you want more context over that article, you can go check out my Lord of the Rings video. But otherwise, this video is just specifically talking about orcs and how media has been changing for them in shows and specifically Dungeons and Dragons, and how Mexican orcs are getting rid of what they used to originally be, and how that can be a detriment to the fan base and how it splits fan bases and puts them against each other really just needlessly. And I talk a little bit on how it hurts the function of the game itself and the systems inside of it, but most importantly, how the fans don't need to be at each other's throats. Hope you guys enjoy. This continues on. If we look back at, if we go take this back to orcs, this continues. Look, all I had to do was type in Mexican orcs in D&D, and this is the thing that pops up. This is another D&D moment where I got canceled for talking about this last week, but this is another moment in Dungeons and Dragons where they've washed away, they've sanitized the personality, the characteristics of a race, and have now turned them into something else, something more needlessly complex. Why should I be represented as a freaking orc when orcs were just considered evil? Why? And then we look over here. I go to Reddit, and you have people here saying, I'm from Spain. Edit, I wasn't sure if my point was clear, so here it goes. I think the outrage is nonsense, and I like how orcs look here. These are people that disagree, that agree with how the orcs look now. I'm a Mexican American. Wow, cool. People that look like me in the art. Wait, reads people talking about Mexican orcs. Wait. What about them is actually Mexican? And then someone down here goes and sees, you can see the nopals, this is the cactus, depicts the Mexican culture. Orc Gonzalez on the right with the mustache right here. That's Orc Gonzalez right there. As a full-blooded Mexican, I noticed the clothing, even now, the kinds of clothing poor people mostly wear. Those eagles are Mexican, Aguila Real. They're used in the Mexican flag. Cowboys melt well with Northern Mexicans. At first, knowing the background, we weren't Mexichongos anymore. We are now Mexa Orcs. And so they're just happy to be identified into the game. To them, they're happy to have a place in the game. So why is it okay? Really ask yourself that species, not race. Hasbro. Thank you. They're a species. They're not a race. Why? So why is it important? Why is it okay to get rid and to sanitize one set of species in order to change them into humans? Why are we humifying orcs? What is this trend of going on and taking orcs and humifying them? They were their own species. We had 40k orcs that actually represented, and people love them. They're their own species. They get to have their own culture. Why is it okay to erase that and replace it with this? Because all they care about is conforming to their ideals. And whenever all you can do is conform to your ideals, you're blind to the things that you might actually agree with because you're too busy trying to prove the other side wrong because you see them as the enemy. And what does that do? It hurts fan bases. It hurts products that people actually want. In my last video, I already showed how this type of thing has split the fan base. It only caters to a niche group of people by trying to make it accessible to them. And when you're making things accessible to only a new group of people, you essentially have to make the game reflect that, therefore hurting the game. And then everyone's like, oh, well, if you don't like it, go do something else. And then you have people gatekeeping you. And then you add in the fact that you have like one button rotations in World of Warcraft. You have, oh, well, now when you use a spell in new D&D, you can use it twice without using a spell slot. There are no consequences to playing D&D. Instead of making the game better, they're just making the game easier for the new players. But then when the new players come and go, And they realize, oh, I don't really like this, and everyone recommends them to go look at the old stuff to make the game better. That means Wizards of the Coast is failing to provide a service that they say that they're doing. They're failing to give us a product that is actually useful. So what's the point? Why even do it? I still laugh at the intermingling chart they made for race so goblins can't mate with dwarves. Oh my gosh. That's Hasbro's, right? Races can't intermingle with one another because they're different species. But because they're trying to make all these species different subsects of humans, they then they make things so overly complex. And now apparently intermingling chart of how they can have sex with one another. When it was like, no, there's just different, goblins aren't dwarves because they're a different species. Jeez Louise. Anyways. Hey, I'm Mario. I like playing video games, watching movies, and Dungeons and Dragons. If you keep getting me in your suggested videos, or you're watching this video right here, consider subscribing. It goes a long way. Thank you. All this to stem from this Vox article. Ridiculous. Basically, what I got from this Vox article is that they're mad that they're imposing values, even though they impose values at all times. And my question is, who made the first tabaxi? Yeah, that's a good point. If people, if these are all races, how the hell did they come up with furries? Dude, somebody's getting freaky with the cheetah. That's, oh man. And that's the sanitization gets rid of the characterization of these species. For what? To make things needlessly complex and to fit your idealism. That's it. That's it. All because you can't agree with someone else, because you can't think for yourself. Because someone makes a point, and if it may have been a point you agreed with, but because it's coming from someone you think is on the wrong side of history, you shun them and you create needless arguments that don't even that deflect and don't even stay on topic. And the same thing happens here whenever we get these orcs. People get mad and they deflect and they don't even stay on topic. And what do? They call you a bigot. They call you a racist. Go look at my D&D video that got over 1,000 views. Look at how most of the comments just call me a bigot when I say nothing racist in them, because they rather see you as an enemy than actually try to find a common ground with you. And that is how we end up losing the things that we love. This doesn't just hurt one side or the other. This hurts everyone. This hurts the consumer. And that's what people have to get across their head, is this type of argument creates rings of power. This type of things destroys the fan base that was united for decades, for almost half a century. United. And now we're split. Isn't that ridiculous?